Okay.
All right, got it.
Recording.
Hey everyone, it's your desperately in need of a vacation friend, Sam.
And it's your tired and a little fruity, Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear right
on Tiffany. Yeah.
I'm sorry that you guys have had to deal with another long break for us.
Yeah.
I swear the internet gods will not let us be.
No, because last review we were like, oh, we'll be back in next week with The Handmaiden. And guess what, guys? This isn't The Handmaiden, and it's many weeks later.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I was the reason why we were late the previous time because I had no internet. Like the internet in my area literally had shut down. So we couldn't film. Like, okay, we'll catch you next week. No big deal. We got it. Literally the day of, Mason's like, so moved into my new place and no internet.
Well, so I forgot to set up internet, and then I was like, great, I'll just use a personal hotspot. Well, joke's on me. There is no cell service in my apartment, period. So I couldn't even use data. So for literally 3 days, I would get home from work and I would just like stare at the wall because I wasn't fully unpacked yet and I had no data. So I couldn't go on Twitter or anything. And I would just sit there thinking like, oh, what's going on Twitter? Who we mad at today? Who's the villain of Twitter today?
It's like, is this what the 90s was like?
Yeah, no, like, what do people do? I eventually like downloaded like a bunch of like TV episodes on like Netflix and Disney Plus, so I watched them when I got home. But like that first night, I was like, so.
So we are back, and the reason why we decided not to do The Handmaiden this week is because we had to discuss I Promised You the Moon, which, I mean, if you watched our review of I Told Sunset About You, you have to know this series is super important to Mason and I. Mm-hmm. It is probably, this controversial yet brave, is probably the best boys love I've ever watched. And I put it over history.
I genuinely think that I Told Sunset About You, you know what? Spoiler for this, between season 1 and 2, I think I Told Sunset About You is one of the best TV shows I have ever seen, point blank, period. Just like ever. I loved it so much.
Yes. So this review, I need to warn you ahead of time. We're operating from a place of rabid fandom.
Yes. Also, many spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show, we're spoiling everything.
Everything, baby. I got my popcorn ready. I am here to dish. Yeah. I need you to know now, we're coming from a place of rabid fandom, super high expectations, all the things. And if you are coming from that same viewpoint, I need you to understand two things. Number one, girl, I still feel the same. I still feel the same. My feelings have not changed. I still think I Told Sunset About You is probably the perfect boys love. But number two, some shit hurt my feelings. And I'm not going to be able to shy away from that because we have a certain type of review that we do here on this channel. And if you watched our previous review, then you already know what it's about. And it would be disingenuous to ourselves if we did not talk about the ways that, honestly, we were slightly let down.
Yeah.
But, you know, big spoiler alert, I'm still giving this bitch an 8.5, if not a 9. So let's begin.
Okay, I guess I'll do like a quick sum up of the plot. So I Promised You the Moon, which, by the way, gorgeous title for season 2. I love the name theming of both of them. I Promised You the Moon picks up pretty much where we left off of Itze, which is they're basically, O and Tae are kind of spending their last summer in Phuket together before they both go off to Bangkok to acting school. And we find out that each episode covers like a whole year, essentially. So episode 1 is their freshman year, episode 2 is their sophomore year, episode 3, junior, 4, senior, and 5 is like end of college to post-college stuff.
Yes. And where we started in episode 1, it felt like coming home. Everything about the beginning of episode 1 was like, we're here, we're back, the gang's all together again. Because we start off with Tae going into Bangkok to go to school. Well, actually, no, we start with 2 nervous young men trying to buy condoms at a convenience store. That's where we
which is like so on par and such a great way to start the show. They were good for that. And then it's just like, they have like their like last night together in Phuket and they're just laying on the beach post-fuck, lying in the waves. And it's like, this is nice, guys. We're happy to see it.
We are. We're happy to see the elevation of the relationship. But Tae's being dropped off to school by his brother Hoon and his mother. And I love the arc that they gave his mother when they dropped him off for school. That was so smart and so refreshing and just, oh, you did it. You did it, boss.
Everything about that was great. I love that she's like, oh, how is your roommate? And he's like, oh, my roommate's kind of shit. And she's like, you just met the man. Like, take a deep breath, like, it'll be fine. And also, I know you've been fucking and he's great. So keep him. But she
give him this blessing.
Yeah, she gave him like little talisman, like little like good luck charms to keep under their pillows, which was how nice.
Yes. Sweet. So after acknowledging that, you know, she knows her son's in a romantic relationship and that she supports him regardless, and she supports her possible future son-in-law. So Tae meets up with Oeo, which, let's talk about that. I called him O the entire last review because I could not get my mind around how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this does not hit the American tongue easily at all. And then in the show, people were like, how do you pronounce your name? And I felt validated. I was like, okay, so I'm not just a dumb American. Other people can't pronounce it either.
Right. So he finally pronounced it. I'm like, oh, it's like Oreo, but without the R. It's Oleo.
I'm still struggling, and I will just say O.
You can still say O, but like I listened to it, I'm like, yeah, it's Oreo, but it's Oleo. That's what it is. It's just Oreo without the R.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was really glad to get that pronunciation because the way it is spelled for the subtitles is not the way an English-speaking person would usually phonetically say that name.
Yeah, it's like, wow, you. It's like,
yeah, it's like
which like doesn't, I don't know how to read that.
Yeah. Thank goodness you said but anyway, Oleo and Tae meet up and they've got couple shoes.
The white shoes of hearts, we stan.
Right. And then they go to the aquarium. And while they're in the aquarium, Tae drops on O like, hey, my mom knows we're together. And he's like, oh shit. Oh gosh. Oh no. And he's like, actually, I have something for you. And it's the mom recording about like, when you come back home, I'm going to feed you. And right after that, they share a kiss. And I thought it was so brilliant that the first kiss of the new season took place underwater, like the first kiss from the first season.
Yes. Not only that, but I love that it was like the first time that they both felt comfortable expressing their sexuality in public.
Yes.
Like, we're in a new city. No one really knows us here. Maybe we can actually be open about our relationship together, which I liked. I remember when he gave him the AirPods to listen to the message, I was like, oh, it would have been way better if they like dropped the sound out so we just focused it on the message. And then like a few seconds later, they dropped the sound out and it's just dead silence for the kiss. And I was like, oh, they know what they're doing. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, these are professionals. Let it be said, we had a lot of worries about the change of director. This director is a talented motherfucker.
Yes,
go ahead.
I definitely think he's very talented. I think the reason this show in some ways feels like a slight letdown from the first one is purely because the scope of this show is much broader. Like the last show, we're covering about 1 year of their life, right? At most, it was a year.
Yeah.
This one's covering 5-ish years of their lives. So you can't always get into the smaller minutia when you're covering the 5 years.
Right. And it felt to me like, even though I love the initial director, I thought that what they did was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this director made a show in a lot of ways that was polished to reflect how polished these kids are becoming, because they are really becoming adults now.
Yeah. The change of director was a very good choice. I'm surprised at how well it turned out, for sure.
Yeah, because usually Tharn Type 2, usually it don't work out like that.
You made me cough up crumbs from my cookie.
But it's true though. How many times?
You're right.
I mean, we change directors and shit falls apart. But this time, like, the director really hit it. So they have this beautiful sequence at the aquarium, and then it's time to start school. And right before it's time to start school, Oeo expresses that, like, he has had a really hard time making friends in Bangkok. So Tae's like, well, I'll stay over to your place tonight. It'll be fine. I'll get up in the morning, go to school. Bangkok, much like any other major city, is not one of those places that you can just get somewhere in the amount of time that Google Maps says you're supposed to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up in the morning at like 7. I guess he tries to get himself dressed, ready to go to school. He's got a scooter that he's driving to school, and he gets to school like 15 after. And it's because Bangkok traffic. And it shows a montage of him like getting up earlier and earlier and trying to make things work for him to be able to spend as much time with Oyo as possible. And along with trying to spend time with Oyo, he's in his first year of school. And like most kids that go to college, well, take that back. Like most kids that don't go to a specialty college, you usually don't spend your first year in your major. Usually your first year is filled up with like your junk math, English, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he wants to make a connection to the acting portion of the school, because for him, that's the whole reason he came to school. Like, honestly, he doesn't really give a damn about, arithmetics or anything like that. He really wants to be an actor. And so he decides to join the drama club. And this is where we meet 3 very important characters.
Mm-hmm.
We meet Kim and Top. Top is an actor who goes to the college, but he also is like a performing actor. Like, he actually has shows and promotes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we meet Kim, who is another junior who is also like a really good actress, but she hasn't managed to like land any roles that are like big career making moments. Mm-hmm. And then we meet Jay. The moment we saw Jay, and I mean, without spoilers, I have been jumping through hoops to avoid spoilers for this fucking show. I've changed my algorithm on Twitter completely. Mm-hmm. The moment I saw Jay, I knew that motherfucker was trouble.
Yeah. In the trailer, when he was like, forget about O, I was like, oh, please don't go where I think that this is gonna go.
Man, like, he was kind of like, we have enough actors, but do you want to help backstage? I mean, if you want to be a good actor, you should really know about backstage.
Which that is true though. When I was in high school, when I did plays, every single cast member had to help out backstage.
I'm not saying it's a lie, but the way he said it was very snotty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So he signs up for the drama club and he starts working backstage, and it's just between the long rehearsal times and the long commute to school, things aren't really going too great for Tae. Oeo, on the other hand, is like, I don't understand why, even though you spend every night in my apartment, I still feel lonely. Mm-hmm. So finally he gets to a point where he's like, you know what? Just stay in your dorm room. We'll still get together. We'll still find time for each other. But when you have classes, just stay overnight in your dorm room, because I don't see you anyway when you come home super late and you leave before I wake up.
Right. It's definitely the realistic adult choice there.
Right.
Be like, college, you have other things to worry about.
Right. And it's great that he said that, but of course Oeo is still lonely. And even though he's making some friends, he's making the kinds of friends you make at work. People who, like, for the activity that we're in, I am cordial to you, but when this activity is over, I go back to my actual life.
Yes, it's very like that like when you're in high school and you see a classmate and you're like, oh, it's Kim from math class, and in math you guys have a good kiki, but you never see her outside of school, you never sit with her at lunch. It's that kind of a thing.
Yeah, like literally her legal name is Kim from math class. No.
Yeah, Kim from math class, Karen from finance, Bill from workshop.
Pretty much.
Oh man, but he does end up making a few friends not long after O kind of starts doing his own thing. And I love the scene where he makes the friends, because he just sees a guy and in his mind, he's like, I think that's a gay. And then he the nails. So he goes up to him and he asks to sit down, and then the guy's like, sure. And then his name is Q. Q's other friends come and they're all a little limp wrist. And it was very nice. I was like, oh man, that's how it works though. You just find the gays real quick. And that's how you do it. And that becomes his friend group. And I love that for him.
I do too. I love it because on the one hand, the way that they became friends is almost the way that children become friends. Like, hi, can I play in your sandbox? Can I borrow your toys? And like, it becomes a lasting friendship. But also, what's great about this group is that they establish that they have their own dynamics in the group. And this is one way where I definitely feel like the director of this series elevated the series, because the friend group in the first season was kind of like a Greek chorus. They were kind of there as reaction and set pieces for the main couple. Whereas I feel like this friend group felt like, listen, whether we know you or not, we have lives, we're people, we're fun, we got personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like I learned more about this friend group than I learned about anybody in the previous friend group except for Bass.
Yeah, I do remember like in the 5th episode when the friend group comes back for the wedding part, I remember seeing them being like, they literally could have found 4 random people and said that they were the friends in the first season, and I would have just believed you. Like, I have no idea who these people
I
are.
was like, where's the blonde one?
Yeah, where was he? That's the only.
He was there. He just dyed his hair. It was like, oh, it's supposed to be them.
I did not notice. Oh well.
So
I agree. I like the friend group.
So OAO finds a friend group, which was something that was really important to him. And then being a part of the drama club, as he's learning about backstage and everything else, Ted is starting to feel more like an actor, more like he's a part of the process. And so they're both in a really good place by the end of episode 1, because they're both kind of filling in the gaps of what they expected Bangkok to be for them.
Yes.
So we're happy.
Yeah.
Then we get to episode 2.
They did something that I do really love. One of my favorite storylines is honestly the fact that O decides that acting just isn't for him. And that even though in first season, they worked so fucking hard. He worked so hard to get into the school. He thought that this was going to be his dream, and he gets there and he realizes that it's just not. And that happens to so many people. So many people. There are people that I went to school too. I went to a hyper-focused art school, and people got there and realized, oh, this is whack. No, and left.
But I have to say, you guys don't know this about Mason and I, but I'm constantly telling Mason how talented he is, how he's literally the only person I know in my life who's living their actual dream. And I say this from the bottom of my heart, because Mason does live his dream and because he is active in a field that he's always wanted to be in, I sometimes feel awkward myself, because when I'm talking about my own life, I feel like my life is dull. I feel like I'm not really doing anything. And I realize now that, and I really was able to use this show as like a reflection or a mirror for myself. And that's what good media does.
Yeah.
I was able to look at this and like, for some people, it's not about pursuing the dream. It's about how the dream makes you feel. And when the dream quits making you feel good, that's when you move on to the thing that makes you feel good. And for some people, it's not the dream, it's the accomplishment. And I know for myself, that's what it is. Like when O is sitting in the class for marketing and the teacher asks the question, and without any kind of background, O is able to answer the question. All of a sudden, he feels like, hey, I think I found something I'm good at, something that I don't have to try as hard, something that I feel comfortable because it's kind of innate. And I feel like this is an area where I can actually grow and I can actually succeed and I can actually see fruits of labor. Whereas acting, I'll always fall behind the 8 ball.
Right. And there's definitely like the things that he did in the first season and parts of personality that really built up to him being good at advertising. Like part of like studying acting is studying people and trends and things like that. And that's something that came really helpful for him when it came to going then into advertising. Yeah, his trajectory of going from acting to advertisement was very well done.
Right. And so I only bring up Mason to say that, like, for the two of us, I definitely see why both of us latched on to certain characters in the first season, because I feel like Tay is very much living kind of more the trajectory that Mason has seen. And I'm definitely living more of the trajectory that Oyo is going through, where I'm just like, I'm not doing the thing I initially thought I was going to do, but I'm doing something that I'm good at, something that I feel confident in doing, and something that allows me to live my life. And I'm happy to be there. And so I feel like when you're looking at the two of us, you're looking at two successful people, not just one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought that was really lovely that he had that. However, Tay's a fucking asshole.
Okay. So I definitely have to defend Tay a little bit. I guess we'll get into it more later. I think my general like thoughts about Tay are, I think he is a person with a good heart. I think sometimes he goes about that in poor ways. And I think that's kind of why I like him. I like to think that I'm hopefully a good person, but I have made mistakes in life and they're ones that I've had to live with. And I think O is very similar. So I relate to him as someone who has like made mistakes that I'm very deeply ashamed of and has had to, because like, I don't know, Sam knows more about this, but like my college time was very tumultuous. And sometimes I see myself in Tay in the way that he'll make a mistake or he'll react badly to a situation and like he'll think it through and be like, oh, that was not the way to do things. But he was young and he just didn't know. And I feel like I have to cut Tay some slack just because, and some forgiveness, because I feel like if I can't cut him slack, how can I cut myself any slack in life? So I definitely am a little bit of a Tay apologist. But he does not react that great to being like, I want to drop acting. Tay is very focused on his goal and his career. And when O decides that he's going to drop acting, he like gets really upset for a few minutes and then like is like, oh, it's okay, O. But it's not. He's very upset about the fact that his boyfriend. Yeah, he's very upset the fact that like he pictured them, they say it in the first episode, he pictured them being on movie posters together. He pictured them being big at the Oscars and being big celebrities together. And O doesn't want that anymore. And I kind of understand like forming a bond with someone, especially over like the same dream or passion, and that person being like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And then being like, oh, that was like our thing. Like, good for you, but that was our thing. So how do we move on?
And it was so their thing that it was literally the thing that drove them apart in the very first episode of I Told Sunset About You.
Yeah. Yeah, they stopped being friends because of it for so long.
Right.
And then like, together. So
it is a very strong part of their love story, and it's a very strong part of Tay's identity as a person. So when OL is rejecting acting, in a lot of ways, Tay feels like he's been betrayed again because he's like, I finally got to the point where I could accept not only that we have the same dream, but we could share this dream, and you're rejecting that, but also acting is my life, and you don't want to do it, and I'm just trying to figure out, how do you feel about my life? Because I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this as far as I can. So, I'm wondering about your judgment of me. But I mean, OAO, the moment that he knows acting is not for him was such a heartbreaking couple of scenes. The first was him being in a workshop and the teacher basically telling him, like, you have not lost yourself to the role you're supposed to play. And it sounded like the role he was supposed to play was kind of a slightly homophobic character.
He basically told him he was too feminine for the role. He needed to man up. So then he goes to a casting with O, because O got them into like a commercial casting or something. And when he's doing a screen test, the director's like, you look good, but you're too girly. Can you man up? And it's the moment O realizes that this is a constant criticism, and I don't know if I can outgrow that, which is totally valid, because honestly, same. There's literally a whole Glee episode about it where Kurt is like, I want to try out for West Side Story, and I want to be, what's the lead guy's name? What's his name? Tony. He wants to be Tony.
The white guy?
Yeah, he wants to be Tony in West Side Story. And everyone in Glee is like, really, Queen? Yeah. You want to be Tony? You want to be the straight lead?
Oh.
Yeah. And he like gets really upset about the fact that there's nothing he can do to change his voice. There's nothing he can do to change the way he walks, So I definitely felt for O in that scene. Because there's times where I'll be walking and I'm like, ooh, I gotta butch it up a bit.
Right. And can you imagine like being in a profession where you're constantly being objected to those kind of remarks? Kim says it best. She's like, I went into the audition and they said, I'm too old. I'm not believable. I would ruin the brand if I got cast for this role. And then you have to just smile and say, thank you very much for your time and keep going. When he was listening to Kim tell Tae why this was so hard for her, I think he was like, I'm not willing to spend the next several years trying to be something I'm not in order to have people who I don't even give a fuck about care about me. And I know who I am. I know very well who I am. And this is not me. And then Kim, OAO stops auditioning then. And Tae's mad. But then Tae goes to an audition where he doesn't get it. And he goes to dinner with Kim, Top, Jay, and then OAO shows up. And because Tae is so frustrated with the audition and the fact that he doesn't have his audition partner that I guess he thought he would have, he is super ugly to OAO. I mean, it's just, the way he did is like, well, you didn't get the role, Kim, but at least you didn't give up like this guy.
Yeah, that really came out in ugly ways.
Yes. And
he like called him, like, he basically like scolded him for giving up on something. Like, he basically had the feeling like, you only went to one casting, how could you know that it's not for you? And part of me does like it. Let me say this. I don't think O told him everything, and that is a fault of O. Like, I think there's a lot of time, I think a lot of people are gonna watch this and think Tae messed up everything. And I disagree. I think O at the same time is also immature and couldn't get the right wording out to Tae at certain times as well. Like, I think if you told him, oh, these are the criticisms I'm getting, I don't know how to work past that, and I just feel like I would rather do something else with my life, that would have worked. And to Tae, he just saw, what he sees is that O went to one casting, didn't get cast, and then is giving up. And I could see a bit why he'd be mad, but I would not scold him in front of my friends.
That's the part.
Yeah.
That is the part.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it was like really ugly. I would have not, yeah. If I was O, I would have yelled.
Yes, and Taylor continues to keep his foot in his mouth because we get to the graduation for the seniors, and he gives everybody something. So he gives a bottle of holy water to Top because he's like, you're already achieving your dream, what can I give you? But then for Kim, who he really respects because he respects her artistry and her kind of stick-to-itiveness, he gives her a book called Pigs Can Fly. And Kim's like, well, I guess this is appropriate considering that I'm going to be a flight attendant. Ha ha ha. And Tay loses his shit. He is like, the fuck you mean?
Yeah. It was like the last person that, yeah, I think he saw her give up and he just couldn't handle it. And she wasn't even giving up. She was being realistic. She's like, I'll still go to castings, but I gotta make money. Which, yeah.
Valid.
Right. She's gotta make money.
Like, you know, people have to eat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tay is just like, his naivete about the arts and what it means to be an artist is slowly starting to be kind of washed away. It's not completely, but the idea that everyone who goes into acting or into media, that they all go in there with like this artist heart that can't be satiated by anything other than creativity. And that's not true, because not all people are the same, and all of us have different depths and fields of emotion. And so you met somebody who's like, the acting is important to me, and yes, I'm talented, but if I can't make a living at this, making a living is more important to me. Right. So that happens.
Kim's storyline is the only one that I feel was I wish they did a little bit more with, because after that they kind of don't do a lot with Kim, and they kind of confirmed that they're back on good terms by the end of the finale, but they never really have a moment. I think I would have liked to have seen a moment where they have a talk, because I think Tay really owes her an apology. She was a good friend, she helped him through a lot, and I don't think she deserved that.
I agree. And I think that the kind of conclusion they gave us, we didn't see her again until it was revealed that her and Top had a secret relationship this whole time, which makes me feel like, Top, you're a fucking asshole of a boyfriend, because if somebody talked to my girlfriend like that, we would have to scrap.
Yeah, it's also not clear if they were dating then. Maybe they were.
She says something like, oh, I see he's revealing a relationship, unlike some people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes me feel like they are dating, but
I mean,
yeah,
it's just unclear of when they started. But I did notice that when we'll talk about it we'll talk more about the end when it comes to it. So
there's a lot of bullshit in the end that we can talk about.
We'll pin that for now. Put a pin in him.
Okay. So finally, Tay gives Oyo an apology for the way he just basically totally mishandled his behavior in front of the friends. And it seems like they're on decent terms going into episode 3, which is Tay's junior year. And episode 3 is when all hell breaks loose. Woo! Shit.
Okay. Well, so O keeps on changing. He's still in advertising. He seems to really like it. He's getting along with his group of friends, and he is finding himself. He dyed his hair. He's gotten a new wardrobe. But they're not like such drastic changes that it feels like he's a different person. It just feels like he's coming into his own. He's growing up. But Tay, again, can't handle it. And you know what? Neither can O, because O even admits at the beginning of 3, he's like, we just don't have anything to talk about anymore. Which is interesting. Because it's not just Tay pulling away because he quit acting. It's O also not doing too much either.
Well, it's hard for him in a lot of ways, because O's friendship group is not Tay's friendship group. And that's the thing that they had in season 1, is that their friendship group was their friendship group. So they could talk about what our friends are doing, or where our friends are going, or events we're planning with our friends. But now it's like, O has a friendship group. They're all in the same major. They all work together in workshops and stuff. They hang out all the time. Tay doesn't even have friends. His whole life is wrapped up in that drama department. Everything is. To the point that when we get to episode 5 and his roommate says, go hang out with a friend, he's like, I have no friends.
Yeah.
And it's just
relatable.
Yeah.
I truly made very few friends outside of my major because I was doing 9 hours of classes on top of homework, and I just didn't have the time to talk to other people because it's competitive trying to get into the arts. It's hard.
Yeah. And I also thought it was interesting that he said that too, because just, you know, with the timeline being what it is, we're talking about probably 3 years after, no, 2 years after his blow up with Kim, which means that he's not friends with Top and he's not friends with Kim, because these aren't two people that he can call when things break up between him and O, and he's having difficulties with Jay. So interesting that he had no friends.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jay said something interesting too. He was like, oh, Kim wishes you well or something. And Tay was like, I'll talk to her later. Like, he just wasn't ready yet to apologize.
Yeah, so you do wonder, like, when they get to the end of the series, did he ever give her that apology? Did they ever really make up? Or does she just, like, is he one of those people that, like, he's somebody I used to know? I still follow him on Instagram, but we're not cool.
I really hope, again, I really wish they had a scene where they became friends again, because I think he deserves a good friend. You know? I feel bad that the series ends and he's still a little friendless in a lot of ways, you know?
Yes, and we can talk about it when we get to episode 4, or 5, I think 4, no 5, episode 5. But there's somebody who was missing from this show that I kind of felt a way about, but we'll talk about it later. So Tae is a part of this play that is Jai's, or Jai, is Jai's his name? Jai. It's Jai's senior thesis. This play is. And Jai decides to write a senior thesis about his relationship with his boyfriend, James, who was somebody he was going out with in episode 1. And apparently James is somebody who was in the industry and somebody that Jai really admired. And when their relationship kind of fell apart, it seems like James just cut off all contact. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. We're done. So we've got Tae in the lead role, the romantic lead of this play, that for Jai is very important, because Jai needs this play to do well enough for him to get a spot in like an acting drama workshop that works on Broadway. And so Tae's having trouble because even though he's a good actor and he's been told that he's a good actor, he has to do an intimate kind of hold with another actor. Like, they don't actually have to kiss. They just have to, like, imply that they're kissing, I guess.
Yeah.
And he has this kind of mental barrier that prevents him from being able to have this intimacy with this actress. Which I don't know where that barrier comes from, because I feel like in season 1, there was a fair argument to say that Tae was bisexual. So he's having this block and he can't seem to get past his intimacy issues in acting. And they're doing this exercise that's called consent to touch. And the reason I'm spending time talking about the exercise, because it's important. But in the exercise, you ask somebody, can I touch your arm? And they have to give you consent, and then you touch them. And it's a good exercise because not only are you establishing what the other person's boundaries are, but you're also letting them know what your definition of different things are. So if I ask you, can I touch your waist? And I grab your waist firmly, then you know that my idea of touch is going to be a firm touch. If I lightly rest my hand on your waist, you know that my touch is maybe a lighter touch, and I might use different words to express different kinds of touches. Anyway, because he's having this trouble, Jay decides, I need you to write this logbook. Just give me your feelings. Let me give you some feedback. Let me see if I can work you through your emotions and see what the roadblock is that's keeping you from being able to actually fully get into the touch. Why it is like your words are saying you consent to touch and you're asking for consent from the other person, but you're not actually going through with the action that you asked to be granted permission for. So he's spending a lot of time with Jai. He's writing to Jai in his notebook, and he's going to plays with Jai and going to eat with Jai, and not always telling OAL that he's doing that. And it becomes a thing where Jai kind of becomes what I believe Tae thought his relationship with OAO was going to be after they got to Bangkok.
For sure. So then Tae becomes a bit infatuated with Jai. And one night they are am I skipping too far ahead?
Yes, because there's one thing we have to address.
Okay.
Things were already wrong when in the logbook, he spent a lot of time on his first entry talking about he was falling out of love with his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And they have there's a birthday party for Plug, I think. Mm-hmm. And one of the friends reveals that they have a tattoo. And then I was like, I have something to show you too. And he has this little cute tattoo of like a teacup, which I thought was the best tattoo ever. I love it. Anyway.
Really? I thought it was very ugly.
I thought it was adorable because I could tell it was like a rustic kind of cup of tea. It wasn't like a British teacup. So I thought it was really cute because like your name means tea and this is a teacup. Oh, cute. Yeah. Anyway, the dissatisfaction that Tae has had because he's seeing the person that he thought he knew change. He's changed his major. His hair looks different. His behavior is different around his friends. Like everything about him is different. And he says in his logbook, like, I don't know if I still love my boyfriend. Like, I feel like I love him, but I also feel like I don't know him. And things that I would never have been upset about now piss me off. Little things he does annoys the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. So the more he builds up Jai in his mind, the more he diminishes his feelings and his kind of like investment in OAO as a partner. Yeah. Which leads us to an opportunity to be had during this consent to touch exercise that he does with Jai. Yeah. Now you may proceed, Mason.
So Jai basically was like, well, this is a sexual moment. So think about the first time you had sex. And I was like, I can't remember the time we had sex. It's just he like keeps forgetting like the memories he had with O for some reason. So, you know, he finally goes to O and they fuck. And O the next morning is like, oh, that was just like our first time. Like we haven't done something like this, like sex or even just like cuddling in the morning in like a really long time. Months, they said. Mm-hmm. And Tae's just kind of like, yeah, this is nice. And he goes with Jay. He still can't do it. So now he's doing the scene alone with Jai. And Jai is kind of filling in for the female lead. And it goes from, can I put my hand on your waist, to can I rest my head on your neck, to can I look at you, to can I kiss you? So they just start making out. It doesn't go beyond that, but O, of course, sees this because we need the drama. He is there to deliver. He went way out of his way to make posters for this fucking show. The show is also called I Promised You the Moon. So that's where we get the title from, right. By the way. Yeah, and he does something I could never do if I saw that. He sees his boyfriend of 2-3 years kissing this man, and he decides to walk away and not say anything for a long time. like days after, if not weeks. And that's kind of where episode 3 leaves us, is they have essentially, or is it 3 or 4 where they have their big blowout about it?
4 is where they have the big blowout.
Okay.
Because episode 4s are always cursed.
Yeah.
So one thing that I found really interesting about the portrayal of OAO in this show is I feel like in a lot of ways OAO must be some sort of an empath, because a lot of things that he operates on, a lot of things that he says and does have to do with feelings. And he seems very tuned in to his feelings, very tuned into the other people's feelings. And he spends a lot of time going out of his way to be as understanding as possible about people's motivations, their actions, and why things are happening the way that they're happening.
Yes.
And he does not immediately hop on his boyfriend, even though he takes the step that a lot of people would disagree with, and he opens Tae's logbook from the play and he reads these back and forth conversations between Jai and Tae. And the conversations are, in my personal opinion, wildly inappropriate.
Oh, I would be more mad about the conversations than I would have been about the kissing, to be completely honest. And yeah, maybe I guess it's not the best move to go through his personal things, but low key, Tay kind of deserved that. And I feel like O deserved to know what was really going on and how his boyfriend really felt about him.
Right. And so I'm not saying that I would not have done the same thing, because I absolutely would do the same thing.
Oh,
like I said,
yeah.
I relate very much to O, but it was one of those things where after seeing that it wasn't just Tae writing his feelings like a diary, it was a vehicle of communication between the two of them, because Jai would respond in certain ways. It was like he could see that Jai was like, if no one else likes you, I do. If no one else believes in you, I do. I think you're amazing. I think you're great. You're so complex. You're this, that, the other. One of the things that I thought was very interesting, Jai tells Tae about his inspiration for the play and how it had a lot to do with his relationship with James.
Mm-hmm.
And the character of Aiken, to me, is supposed, from the way it seemed in the show, is supposed to be an avatar for Jai with his relationship with James, and Fang is supposed to be James.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Tae says early on when he's doing the workshopping for the play is that he says, Aiken is a very complex character, and I don't know if I understand him very well. Mm-hmm. And in the notes for the logbook, Jay's like, you're a complicated person. You're very complex. And I'm glad I'm getting to understand you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so Jay's method of making Tae the best actor for the play is really a lot of psychological manipulation. He does a lot of things to make Tae feel the way that Jai felt during his relationship. Mm-hmm. And he does a lot of things in order to gain trust and buy-in from Tae, including removing their boundaries. Mm-hmm. And we know that Jai has no boundaries. He's sleeping with the drama teacher.
Yeah.
So, I mean, already we know that he'll do anything to get ahead.
Yeah.
But he's like, this kid's not acting right. It's too late to find another actor. I'm going to have to make him act right. And it seems like he might have a little bit of a crush on me. I could probably use that to my advantage. I could probably make him do better. So OAO goes to their workshop day. And he's like, hey, do you mind if I just sit in? I brought the posters. You mind if I just sit here and take a look-see? Mm-hmm. And Tae can't perform with the female actor. So Jai is like, hey, don't think about OAO. Think about me. Mm-hmm. Think about what you do to me if you were touching me, kissing me. And that's what gets Tae through the scene. And you can see it on OAO's face. He's like, I need to leave now before I start swinging on bitches. Excuse me.
He should have come with a baseball bat ready to go.
Right. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Make your own damn posters.
Yeah.
I was, so OAO confronts Jai. And Jai is like, yeah, you may have seen me kissing your man, but like, that's just what I do to get my actors to do what I need them to do. Don't take it as anything. I don't want your man. I give a fuck about him. I'm all about me and mine. And OAO, being somebody who's kind of, he knows acting, but he's removed from it at that level. He's like, you know what? I shouldn't even be talking to you. You're not the person who's responsible for my pain. Mm-hmm. I just want you to know that I have you on notice. You haven't escaped I know what the fuck's going on, so don't think you can pull one over on me. Yeah. But talking to you any further is not going to change what the fuck's going on over here.
Which was a good choice. But also, fuck Jai for being like, oh, I totally just fucked with your boyfriend because I needed to for the show. He didn't even say like, oh, I like him too. It was just like, no, I just fucked with him. Which is like, ooh, okay. Okay, Jai.
Right? So we get to a conversation that OAO has with Tay, basically saying like, listen, I saw you two kiss. I'm not comfortable with this shit. And he's like, listen, I know I've been distant. I know I haven't really been doing what I need to do, but I promise you, once this play is over, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to try harder. We're going to be okay. Daddy still loves you.
Mm.
And then the day of the play comes and they have the performance, and Tay has been lying. He's been lying about who he's spending his time with, what he's spending his time on, and he's lying to himself about how much he's actually trying to save his relationship with OAO.
Right.
And it comes to a head at the cast party.
Wait, we have to talk about, so after the play, Tay gets a card from an agency lady. She basically said, hey, we have a role that we think you'd be great in. So give us a call. Or like we'll give you a call.
That was the first big crack. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Because she says that right in front of O. And you know what Tay's reaction is? It's not, oh my God, oh my dreams are coming true. I love you, my boyfriend. It's, I have to go tell Jai about this, which is like, let's know where the priorities are. Right.
So they get to the cast after party, and Tay is looking for Jai. And when he sees Jai exit the room, he's like, I just got a bathroom real quick. I'll be right back, guys. And he goes.
Good impression. Kermit the Frog all of a sudden. Oh, hey guys.
He's a fucking goober. He's such a dork. So
he is, but in like a way that you like. Yes, he's a dork, but I don't know how to describe. But not like a typical dork. Oh, the character writing is so good. Anyways, continue on.
Yeah. So he goes to talk to Jai because they haven't had a moment alone since the success of the play. And he's kind of letting Jai know, like, hey, I really liked being Aiken, and I really like getting into your head, and I really consider you my fang. And Jai's like, all that bullshit was for the play. I got places to go, things to see, people to meet. You need to be an actor. Grow the fuck up. This was a role. This was acting. I don't want you. Really? You really thought I cared? Oh. And
he's about it for no reason.
He is. Like, he's just a step shy of laughing in that man's face.
Yeah.
And as he's laying it on, Tay's like, don't say that. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. He's like, it was just acting. That's my style of direction. I needed to get out of you what I needed to get out of you in order to get it on that stage. Now that I've gotten it, I don't need you anymore. Focus on you. I'm going to be focusing on me. And Tay goes back to the table. And of course, OAO is like, you were in the bathroom a long time, friend. Did a kidney fall out? And he's like, oh, let's take him to number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get on stage and
apparently. Sorry.
Right? Like, were you constipated? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So yeah, then basically Tay and O are then forced to do karaoke, and they start singing a love song, and Tay cannot stop looking at Jai. And then like, kind of,
I love you so much. Like, his boyfriend is over here, basically. I love you so much.
Yeah.
Not looking at him at all.
And then we cut back to O, and O at this point is like, I can't handle this anymore. And he's sobbing. And you're like, this poor baby, you need a hug. Fuck you, Tay. So they run outside, and basically O's like, this is bullshit. He hits him with the flowers, which is a weirdly recurring motif, is like the handing of flowers between each person.
Sunflowers specifically, because he gave him sunflowers at the end of the first play that he was like the stage crew for the drama club, and he was given the flowers back and took him to his friend's house.
Yes, he never takes the flowers except for twice, which we'll get into. So basically, O is like, fuck you, fuck your bullshit, I'm out. And
Jai watches this happen, and in Machiavellian fashion is like, oh well.
He's like, ain't ruining my night.
You knew what it was.
Yeah. And then you have Tay. He's crying again. He once again went to the school of Viola Davis snot crying, of which Jennifer Hudson is also a graduate.
Oh my gosh. Ugly cry. Of course, but it's episode 4. He has to ugly cry in episode 4. It's a thing.
Yeah, at least he didn't wail like in the first season.
Right.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, we're gonna get another like 3-minute shot of him wailing dead at the camera, and we just have to live through it.
Also, can I just give a shout out to the costume designer? They made OAO wear a shirt to the play that has a cutout of a heart, and like his bare skin is showing through the cutout.
So well thought through. Every fucking detail was considered in this show. It's fucking good.
Everything. So after the big blow up, Ted shows up at Q's place looking for his man, and he's wearing the hibiscus shirt from episode 1, season 1.
I think it's the shirt that he wore in episode 3 when they first kind of like kissed underwater, right?
Yes, and it was the shirt he was wearing when he showed up in Bangkok in episode 1. So this is a shirt that's kind of carried out through the series.
Yeah, he also wears the red, like that maroon tank top from season 1. And I believe he wears it when he kisses Jai, which is also the time when he also wore it the first time him and O had like any sort of like physical connection, I believe.
I'm telling you, everyone was on their fucking job. Everyone was on their job. So he shows up at Q's house, and Q at first was like, I'm not gonna let you in here because my friend doesn't want to see you, which is why you haven't been able to find him for a week. And I'm not gonna let you make my friend sad. And he's like, listen, I know how you feel. I'm not here to make him sad. I really am here to apologize. Straight up, that's all I want to do is just apologize. So Q lets him in the house, and you could tell that week apart was a week of a lot of thought for OAO. OAO did not spend that week only just crying. Like, he spent that week really reevaluating, like, what am I even doing here? Which
he had a lot of hurt.
Ted, I don't think there's anything that Ted could have said in that moment to make things better or to get them back together.
No, definitely not.
No, but I think Ted did come into that conversation unprepared, because I think he was prepared to just profusely apologize and just keep apologizing. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong. But he didn't come in there with a way of saying, I have an understanding of your feelings. And because I have an understanding of your feelings, I just want to know when you want to talk to me. Where it was like, I need to apologize so that you'll forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a selfishness to Tay that is sometimes unlikable in that sense. Like, he very rarely asks, oh, how are you doing? It's very, I'm sorry, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He never asks O about kind of his feelings about things. Right.
Because like even later on, there's like a scene where O's trying to describe his job and Tay's like, I didn't understand any of that. It's like he never really took the time to get to know OAO for them to have conversations outside of acting. In fact, sometimes I think he's in love with OAO in the beginning because he sees so much of himself in OAO in terms of like goals and background and, you know, shared kid interests. But he likes that reflection. And when that reflection quits looking as much like him, he no longer is as invested or as excited to see this person. And he's not really seeing him for who he is. So he goes to get this apology, and I was like, I don't even know what we're doing. Like, if you could fall for someone like this, if you could fall in love with someone like this, did you actually love me? Or did you like love the idea of us and what we would be if I was exactly what you needed me to be? And he suggests that they break up. And of course, Tay is like, no, that's not how this conversation was supposed to end. It was supposed to end and you back. But eventually, I guess he realizes I can't win him over by not respecting his wishes. This is kind of a lost cause right now. So I'm going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And OAO breaks down after he leaves. And it's just, it was so rough watching OAO go through the breakup after Tay was no longer a part of the scene, because for him, when he first arrives in Bangkok, he misses home. And Tay really is the last piece of home he has. Everything else in Bangkok is brand new. It's all different, but one solid thread of home and his past exists, and that's this man that he's loved, and he's loved him regardless of them having different interests, them going to different schools, everything else. He's just like, I just love you. And once that string is gone, I feel like he feels very untethered.
Yes.
And it was just really hard to watch him go back to, like, I feel incredibly alone again, even though I now have a friend whose house I can stay at, and I have all these friends staying over to provide me moral support. In the moment when his friends all gather around him on the floor to hold him, he's wearing the shirt that he wore the day that they first kissed.
Yeah, it was a hard scene.
I know.
And like right before he found the talisman, the good luck charm that Tay's mom gave him. And it's just like, if anything, go give her a hug. I mean, fuck Tay, but like
right. Like, he's losing his boyfriend, he's losing this woman that has been very kind to him and who has a great deal of affection for him. Like, everything's gone away, and he's just floating in this life that,
right.
you know, is so far removed from where he thought he would be.
Right. And not only were they dating, they were pretty much best friends. So he lost that part of him as well.
Right. So it was really hard to watch, but I'm really glad that we didn't focus on Tay's feelings, because one of the only thing that I could say is maybe a strike in the negative for season 1 is that I felt like we did not get enough of OAO's side of things. I felt like that story really was more focused on Tay, even though there were a lot of scenes that were just Tay with other people. But I really felt like, because we started the show from Tay's point of view, that the story really was about him and his changing feelings and emotions and everything else. And this season, even though we started out with Tay, I felt like this season really was about the two of them and their dynamics growing up, and in a lot of ways growing apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In season 1, they like converged and they started to grow together. And then season 2, splits off and Tay just doesn't know how to follow him.
Right. And doesn't really make the effort.
No,
so,
he did not.
Yeah.
But
so we come back to success.
Yeah, episode 5 starts off and he's on the cover of magazines. He's got like a couple he like did a movie, is gonna do another movie, was in a very popular drama, has like a very public relationship with this actress, and people are like, ooh, are they dating, or are they just like, you know, on screen together? So Tay's doing really well. He kind of achieved his dreams in a lot of ways.
Right. And OAO is not doing bad himself. He presents like the winning concept for their thesis, and he gets employed immediately afterwards. Also, I thought it was quite the irony that his winning thesis involved him doing a promotion towards students using flashcards, because that was something that Tay had made for him in season 1. So
yes.
But yeah, he's doing great. And he goes back to Q's place, and they all lounge on the couch and they're watching television and talking about their future, when we hear about Tay's stardom on the screen. And I was really surprised by the choice that they made for OAO and how he reacts to this, because he doesn't react to this like, this is still an open wound for me. Now, granted, some time has passed, but he's just like, but he's just like, I'm just glad he's doing okay. He's somebody that I love, and I want loved ones to succeed, whether we're still in love or not.
Like, I definitely got the feeling that even if they never got back together, he would always have a love for Tae, even though he hurt him. Like he really found something special in him. And he even like had a magazine that he kept where Tae was on the cover. It's just like something he wanted because it was someone that he cared about still.
Right.
Maybe not as like a lover, but again, for his well-being.
Mm-hmm. So Q is in the background during this scene with his arm kind of draped over the couch and was leaning into his arm. And I think Q's like, oh, you're happy that your ex has moved on? That's great to hear that you have moved on. And immediately OAO, when they're at the pool, is like, I want us to be friends forever.
Yeah. Yeah, Q was definitely like, oh, damn.
He was so ready.
Yeah, him and Bass got real shafted their seasons. Poor babies. Maybe Bass and Q can get together.
Listen, I'm Team Basquiat. Bass and Q.
I feel like we have to see it now.
I would love to. I would like to see it. I very much the Monique meme. I would like to see it.
Yeah. You know what? Give us the plug and whatever his boyfriend's name was too. I'll watch him. I'll watch it all. Yeah,
which right after he says we should be friends forever, that's when Plug and Wang upstairs have their little fight. And he's like, listen, if they fall out as a romantic partner, you get one, I get the other, but I'm not dealing with them both.
Well, and then it was cute. They were like, nah, we'll still be friends with them. It's fine.
Yeah. You know, I was totally thinking to myself, like, listen, baby, OAO, Q's got a really nice place. I think you ought to give him another look-see. He's also very fun.
I know. I'm like, he's hot. He's rich. What do you want?
So he finds out, OAO finds out through his mother that Hoon, the older brother of Tae, is getting married at the family resort that OAO's family owns. And coincidences being what they are, OAO runs into Tae at the place where OAO works as a media planner, because OAO went into marketing. And Tae is there because he's being interviewed for a possible sponsorship brand deal type thing. And of course, Tae is immediately like, oh my gosh, it's my one true love. And Tae has not been inactive since their breakup. He was dating his co-star from the drama he was in, because Tae just cannot get over the fact that just because you kiss somebody doesn't mean y'all go together.
So is he bi or is it compet? What is it? No, but like I do appreciate. I want to go back to Tae just a little bit because there are some really nice scenes with him too, where he achieves his dreams, but it's not all. Of course, it's never what it's cracked up to be, right?
Right.
And he basically tells Top, he's like, I'm just depressed. Like, I don't even want to work anymore. I'm tired all the time. Work doesn't make me happy. This thing that I have dreamt my whole life no longer makes me happy. And Top's just kind of like, eat a cookie, like get over it. He doesn't offer any good advice, honestly.
He does offer one piece of advice. He says, if you feel like you're still hollow even after achieving your dreams, maybe you haven't achieved all of your dreams.
Right, because his dream was, but anyway.
Advice.
Yeah, so when he sees him, it was like the spark had lit up in him again of like, there was something that I was living for.
Right.
And they have a very nice conversation for the most part.
They do. They have the conversation that people consider to be the conversation that mature exes have. Where it's like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing well. What are you doing for a living? Well, I'm doing this. Oh, you always wanted to do that. Yeah, I'm finally doing it. Aren't you happy for me? Yes, I am happy for you. That's why we both landed in a good place. So, my brother's getting married soon. Are you going to bring your boyfriend to the ceremony? And of course, I was like, yeah, if I'm dating somebody by then, but I'm not really seeing anybody. And of course, he was like, yeah, I was seeing somebody, but that fell apart because they just weren't you.
Yeah. O was like upset that he dumped his girlfriend because Tay was like, I broke up with her because I just felt like she wasn't the one, which is a valid reason. Like, isn't that kind of the point of dating? But O was like, oh, another girl you dumped? Mm-hmm.
I think it is, but I think that OAO's anger didn't have to do with the fact that he dumped the girl as much as his reasoning for it, because I think OAO had kind of comforted himself with the idea that the reason why it didn't work out between us is because I don't share his interest in acting. I'm not doing the same thing he does. And what made him want Jai is the fact that he and Jai have so much in common. But then for him to be with somebody that not only does everything that he ever wanted a partner to do, but like literally is living the dream. Like he says in episode 1, this is going to be you and me on this poster, and we're going to go to China, and we're going to be famous stars. This girl literally is what he's doing. They're going to China to promote this series. They're famous stars. They're on posters. They're well known. And even with somebody living out the shell of the dream, it didn't work. So it makes, I think that OAO got mad because he's like, go ahead.
I said, no, you finish.
So I think OAO got mad because he's like, well, shit, if it wasn't the acting thing, then what the fuck was it that made you not love me?
I think a thing that Tay realized, though, is that work isn't everything. Because during college, he was like, work, 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 work. And then he got into the real world, and there's a scene where he's with his co-star, and she's like, and he asks her, like, do you just want to, like, take a break? We can get food and, like, relax a bit. And she's like, no, I'm going to keep working. And Tay's like, oh, it really is work, work, work. And he kind of gets disillusioned with that.
Right. And I think that OAO, you know, you tell yourself certain stories in order to get past it. Like when you break up with somebody and you're like, it didn't work out, you tell yourself, well, these are the reasons why it didn't work out. And maybe the story that OAO had told himself is, if I had gone into acting, if I could have been more like Jai, then you would have stayed with me. But for him to be with somebody who literally is living that fantasy that he maybe told himself, it didn't work between us because I wasn't this. Well, you broke up with the person who was that. So then what was it that made it to where you didn't want to be with me? Because obviously somebody who shares your acting dreams doesn't fulfill you, but I didn't fulfill you either. So what did you actually want?
Right.
And I think that's why he got upset.
Yeah. But I also think it's relatable for Tay to kind of not know what he wants. It's
I did
figuring that out. And I wonder if like some of Tay's frustration was like, he thinks he knows what he wants, but he truly doesn't. Whereas, and O spent the time in college discovering what he wanted. And Tay was like, I know what I want. This is it. I have to do this. And when he becomes an adult, he realizes that that was the wrong way to go about it. He truly doesn't know what he wants right now.
Right. And people mature differently. There was a big maturity level difference in the two of them in season 1, because at the very minimum, OAO already knew in season 1, I am a gay man.
Yeah.
Whereas Tay had to jump through hoops just to even acknowledge that he had a same-sex attraction.
Yeah.
And so I think for the two of them, OAO has always been more certain because he's already kind of been one step ahead, and he's very quick to identify when things work for him and when things don't work for him, which is why he didn't waste a lot of time in acting, because he's like, I recognize marketing's where I'm supposed to be. Whereas Tay, he spins his wheels a lot in trying to be one thing when he really needs to be something else, because he spun his wheels in season 1 believing that he had this crush on the female character there instead of having the crush on his friend. So because of that, I feel like the reason why this revelation and this breakup honestly needed to happen, because imagine somebody like Tay, who's never had a same-sex relationship before, has then been in this relationship with the same person for over 3 years, and he's never done the date around thing. Even the girl that he had the crush on, they didn't actually date. Like, they were trying to get to know each other and getting to the point where they might date, but they never actually did. Right. And so for him to be with somebody like this, somebody that, you know, feels like the comforts of home, that he assumes is one way, and never really testing the waters and seeing what it is that makes this person special compared to everybody else. I'm not saying that he's right for cheating with Jai, but I can see why the temptation is there because he's not known anything else but his relationship with Oyo.
Agreed. And also, I fully believe, I mean, I don't know. I've never been in a polyamorous relationship, but I also fully believe you can love more than one person at a time. And I think that's another way to look at it too.
I do think you can do that, but I think that the key, at least in my opinion, the key to having a polyamorous relationship is that you have to have a buy-in from all parties involved.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, I don't necessarily think my reading of this is that I don't think Tay ever fully fell out of love with O.
Oh, absolutely not. He was still in love with him when O left. And when they broke up, he was still in love with O. I don't think he ever stopped loving O in terms of like, you're a significant part of my life. I think he quit caring about O. O became the same thing that your mother and your brother and those people become. I love my mother immensely, but the love I have for my mother, I very rarely ever think about. It just kind of lays in the background. And we have this relationship that's been defined for years, and it is what it is. And it takes a lot for us to have significant changes in that relationship, but it's always love. Even if I'm mad at her, even if we have a bit of a tiff, a disagreement, the love is always there, but it's not the same as the kind of love that Oyo is expecting for Tay to have for him. Tay has the kind of love for Oyo that could never go away, no matter how old they get, because it's a love that is born out of familiarity and history and everything else. But Oyo expected Tay to be in love with him. And that's one of the things that I thought was also very interesting when it came to the costuming. When Oyo had the bright red hair, he was not only like expressing himself fully, but also his love was at full bloom for Tay.
Yeah.
And the minute his love cut off, his hair goes back to brown.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot to have that kind of relationship at that young of an age and not have the dating history and not really knowing yourself because you were so young.
Yeah. It reminds me of that scene in Lady Bird. Have you seen Lady Bird?
Nope.
Oh, okay. It's good, but it is like a white girl movie, so.
I like white girl movies. I introduced you to Legally Blonde.
Don't call me out like this. Not on Pride Month.
Sorry, that was slanderous. I apologize.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but there's a scene in Lady Bird where Lady Bird's talking to her mom and she goes, "Do you like me?" And her mom goes, "Of course I love you." And she goes, "But do you like me?" And her mom just like can't find an answer. That's how I feel Tay and O's relationship went. O is being like, "Do you love me?" And Tay's like, "Yeah, I love you. But do you like me?" Tay's like, maybe not right now.
Right. And because of that conversation on the balcony, what happens next made my balls shrivel up into my body, if I had them, my metaphorical balls. So Oeo gets an invitation to go to Hoon's wedding, the older brother of Tay. And in the invitation, there was a ticket to go see a play called I Told Sunset About You.
And it's got like the two like Chinese characters that they were imitating when they were kids and stuff.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, this play is atrocious. It's terrible. You fail. Because like while I was watching the scene, I was also like, if I was in the audience for this is some bullshit. This is a really bad play.
I'd be like, this dude's just monologuing for way too long. We need to speed it up.
Right. Is this supposed to be a one man? Because like the girl really didn't really have many lines. Anyway, so Oeo, thinking that he's finally going to be able to get back to some kind of friendship with Tay, at least not have to think about the romance anymore, shows up to the play. And in the play, it's basically a scene from their childhood. It was them playing these Chinese characters. And at first, Oeo thought he knew what the storyline was going to be. But then when he realized that this was literally him snatching a part out of their life, he becomes super uncomfortable. And it's basically Tay being like, I'm going to do a lot of bad things, but it's only because I never stopped loving you and you were always the best. And I was going to fuck things up, but it's only because like you stopped liking acting. And then I started liking this other person because they reminded me of what I liked about acting. And like, I really wasn't thinking properly. So like, really, honestly, oh, kind of this is your fault, but a little bit of like, it just is, it's word vomit and emotional vomit. And it's not anything that OL was made aware of enough to be prepared to get all of that in that moment.
Yeah.
So he leaves and he's wearing this really nice kind of like two-piece suit that kind of looks like pajamas, but it's not. I'm sorry, fashion. Anyway, he leaves and they're standing in the parking garage and there's a poster between them that says, I close to the set about you. And they're both standing on the side that their avatars are on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little over the head with the messaging, but I get it. And OA was like, what the fuck was that? Why am I here? What the fuck was that? And Tay is just, because I needed to let you know and I couldn't think of any other way. And I mean, I was inspired by you and I wanted to, and he's just like, you know what? I need to remove myself from this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he does. He leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, I was really, really mad at Tay. Because just because you had a friendly conversation with OAO, and he did suggest you writing about your life as part of your thesis, you cannot make these kinds of public declarations of something so intimate like this without letting somebody else know ahead of time. I'm going to reveal details about our relationship to the general public. And I'm going to say some things that you may have never heard me say. I'm going to say some things that might be traumatic for you because they bring up these old memories. Instead, you're just blind, like, come see my art now that we're friends again. And then you get there and it's like, we were childhood best friends and lovers. And I had a hard time with knowing whether or not I was gay. And then I met the love of my life, but then I cheated on him and I didn't care about him. Like all this stuff that, oh, it was like, I thought I was coming here to see a historical romance. The fuck is this?
Yeah. I'm of two minds about it. So, okay. I agree that Tay or O was not prepared for what he was going to see, and that Tay should have told him, like, hey, I wrote a play about us. Like, you, just so you know, I wrote a play about us. The good or the bad, it's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should have said that. However, I think as artists, it's sometimes the only way to, I feel like, to express the right emotions is to put them in art. And I think that is what Tay was trying to do, is he was like, let me put how I know I messed up and my mistakes, because I don't think he was able to communicate that to him verbally. Clearly he wasn't able to, because they didn't talk for like a year, right? Mm-hmm. And I think being like, okay, I'm gonna write a play about us and I guess our mistakes is his solution, which also is a solution that Jai tried to use and it didn't work because James never went to his play. But
thank you for bringing that up. You are so smart.
Yes, but O went, and honestly, I could see why O would be very upset about this. I do not blame Tay for making the story and making the art for it. I think it's unfair to, like, I don't know, like, even just like a newer movie, like Mitchell's versus the Machines. Have you seen that? The new animated movie?
No, you know I don't watch television.
Anyways, there's this new animated film. It's really good. It's called Mitchell's versus the Machines. But it definitely has like, this person had some daddy issues growing up. And I don't know, like, I think that's a valid thing to put in your art, to like talk about your personal experiences, you know?
I don't fault the art. I fault Tay's assumptions about how O would respond to the art. Yeah. And even the fact that he didn't let O actually escape. It's obvious that him rushing out of the theater is him being overwhelmed by his feelings. And instead of seeing his playthrough, which is what he's there to do, he runs out of the theater because I guess he thought, because like he was smiling the whole time, he thought, oh, he's going to see my heart for what it is, and we're going to get back together after he sees this brilliant work of art that I've made.
Yeah,
And,
failed.
you know, and OAO was like, no, that's no. It's going to take more than a conversation at my job for us to get back to where we were. You hurt me. And one play is not going to replace all of the lingering doubts I've had about what even is love between the two of us.
No, but it did plant the seed of Tay or of O to really think about it though. Because I think because they never had a second conversation of, I'm really sorry about what happened. It was, he saw the play. He now started to understand Tay's feelings about it, but O understandably was like, I still have the pain from this and I don't know if I can move on yet. Like the scene where he's scrolling through the messages right after of like all the messages Taya sent over the years that O just hasn't looked at. You know?
I think that that's a great scene. I just really feel like it's not fair. And I'm not going to ever get over the fact that he didn't prepare O to know that that was what it was going to be. And also because it's a one-sided conversation in many ways. I'm telling you my story, but I'm telling you my story through a format where you can't rebut, you can't ask questions, you can't delve into anything I'm saying any deeper because I have already drafted this conversation. It is solid, it is final. You have no say in this. You just need to listen. Well, and OAL probably has a lot of stuff that was brought up in that play that he would love to get into, and he would love to work out these emotions. But he's like, I would also like to be prepared because maybe I have my own monologue I would like to deliver to you.
Yes, which we do get.
Yeah. So, with the uncertainty of his feelings for Tay and the emotional kind of tsunami that he was exposed to at the play, he decides to meet up with our favorite character, Bass.
I'm really glad he made a cameo.
He's so cute. He's so cute. He's like 5 years old, but he's so cute. Mm-hmm. And he shows up and he is a level of maturity that I don't think Tay or O will ever see.
And he had it back in high school.
He had it from day one. He's like, why wouldn't I hold your hand in public? We're dating, aren't we? Like, he just was always that dude. Why wouldn't I bring you back to the person who you really want to be with? I know you don't want to be with me, and I'm not going to spin my wheels trying to get you to like me. Like, he is that dude. But he shows up at the bar, and O is unloading, and Bass is like, let's just cut to the chase here. You still like this man. You made up your mind a long time ago this was your soulmate, and you ain't over him yet. So what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And I just love the fact that he wastes no time. He doesn't give in to the pity party. He is just like, come on. What did you drag me out here for? Did you just want to hear yourself talk, but you want somebody else to be there so you don't seem crazy? Like, yeah, you want that.
Like, it was good advice because it's really the advice needed. It's like, you love this person. Are you going to make it work or are you not going to make it work? It's right. Because really ball's in his court because Tay was pretty much been like, I'll date you tomorrow, whenever you fucking want to, you know? Mm-hmm. So I like that conversation too. And we saw Bass, and then Bass was at the wedding, and I was like, oh my God.
Yes, and he looked great at the wedding, and he also maintained a reasonable relationship with Tay. When Tay was like, so what are you up to? What are you guys doing? He gets to Bass like, so how are you? And Bass like, I'm good.
Yeah, we never find out what Bass is up to. Bass is like, I'm here for the food.
I still want OAL, and I could have had him last night. He was drunk and vulnerable. I could have twisted that situation around for my benefit, but you know what? I'm gonna let you have what's yours because I'm not playing these fucking games. But in terms of us ever being friends, fuck out of here.
I'm telling you, he needs to marry Q and just marry Rich.
Team Basquiat all the way. Yeah. So the wedding happens and OAO is not there. And Tay's mom was like, oh, that's sad. I want to see my baby. Oh, well, they have the wedding. And I guess weddings in Thailand are very different than American weddings because like the bride and the groom walked out together. There was no pastor. And Tay is like the MC of the event. Like, so tell me how you guys met.
It worked though. It worked because then his brother just starts saying something. I really like what his brother said. And I think it was in a lot of ways just the thesis of the show that love is simple. Because at the end of the day, O and Tay's love is simple. They just love each other. And they will work through whatever they have to keep that. I thought it was very beautiful.
It was. I love Hoon. I didn't talk about Hoon enough, but Hoon was fine in the first season. He's fine in episode 1. He's fine now. I like Hoon quite a bit. Good brother. So they have the wedding and they decide to do the traditional bouquet toss. And who catches the bouquet?
But oh,
ooh. So after he catches the bouquet, Tay is out on the beach looking out at their cove, the cove where all of the dreams happen, where all the love began. And OAO talks to Tay, and I think he gives Tay the conversation that had he been warned ahead of time, he probably would have tried to have with him after the play. Which is, when they were in the parking garage, Tay was like, you told me you didn't ever want me to be distant. Well, why can't I require that from you? And then OAO was like, you're right. I don't ever want to be apart from you. And it is the same conversation they had at the end of episode 5 of season 1. No matter what, I need you in my life. No matter what world that might be, I need you in my life. And he says the same thing to him now, like, I just can't live without you. No matter what, I just can't live without you. Obviously, my heart will never move on. It is you and me for life. And Tay does the same thing he did at the end of episode 5. He listened. He listened until there was time for him to speak and respond to what he was told. And when he responds to what he's told, he finally pulls his head out of his ass and responds correctly, which is, I'm willing to have this relationship on your terms. Because for at least 3 years, you tried to have this relationship on my terms. And they share a hug and they hold the bouquet together. And then, we didn't mention this earlier, but Ted does something that is very, very bold. He posts a picture of them together with the bouquet on Instagram with the caption, I do.
And this is after having had to delete photos of him and O, so when he got famous, people would not suspect anything.
Right. And it put me in the mind of the Instagram moment from episode 4 of I Told Sunset About You, where OAO's in the mirror in the bra.
The bra, yeah.
Yeah, because it very much was like an exposure moment. You know, I'm letting the world know who I am, really, and what my heart looks like, which is this guy over here. And they show some of the people who have been a part of the storyline, seeing the Instagram post and their reaction to it. I don't know where the fuck Jai is. Is Jai on like a ship of some sort? Because he's got this beanie on and he looks cold.
I don't know, but he can fuck off.
Yes, we're not big fans of Jai.
And then Kim
but,
and C. And
yeah.
Kim, the thing I want to say about Kim is I think they might be back on good terms because she commented, if you look at when they show like the photo of it on Instagram, it says Kim and then like a bunch of hearts in the comments. So they're at least on somewhat good terms.
Right. So yeah, he ends up making it Instagram social media official. And that's kind of where the story lets go, with everybody knowing that that's there. We didn't talk about the roommate. The roommate that he met in the very beginning of the show was kind of an asshat, and I could see why he didn't want to be friends with him. And then towards the end of the show, he was like, gave like one good conversation, one piece of good advice, and he was never really involved in anything. But I just remember thinking, like, it shows how small Tay's world really is, that everyone who counted was able to be shown in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't know if it's just, for storytelling purposes, because you can't show like a bunch of people, but one thing that they didn't show, which I think is because it would have been a huge downer, is his manager's response to this Instagram posting.
I don't want that. I think that it was good they kept it out, because like in O's speech, he's like, whatever problems we face, I'm willing to face them with you. And after he posts the photo, O is like, isn't that bad? Shouldn't we not be doing this? And Tay's like, it's our first problem together. Whatever it happens, we'll solve it.
Yeah.
Which, if that's not a declaration of love to put your whole fucking career on the line for this man,
right.
A kiss.
So, I mean, it was a really nice way to close it, but it definitely, my mind kept going to like, oh shit, what's going to happen on the news later that day? You're trying to get into China, and China's really big about not trying to endorse homosexuality and shit like that. Oh no, what's going to happen? So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I still think this was a quality production. I would not say that they lost anything by changing directors. I get that there was a lot more element to this story than there was to season one. There were a lot more factors, a lot more complications. But I mean, that is part of being grown up, is that you do have a lot more factors and a lot more complications. So it makes sense to take that direction. But everything worked in this story's favor. The costuming was brilliant. The makeup, they had the best makeup artist I've ever seen on A Boy's Love.
So natural. So natural.
I mean, at every turn, OAO had a face full of makeup, and it never looked like it.
Yes.
And they always made sure his makeup went well with whatever hair he was wearing, because when he had the brownish reddish hair, his makeup was one way. When he had the red hair, his makeup was a completely different way, and it always worked. Like they hit the ball out of the park in terms of production value. The locations were really good. The editing was really tight. Like, they didn't waste a lot of time on things that weren't going to push the story forward. Yeah. I thought that they did their job here. It was a beautiful show. And it's something that if I hadn't already been somebody who watched Boys Love, I would not have thought that this was a Boys Love show. I would have thought this was just some drama that was airing somewhere, because Boys Love at this stage in the game has become rather formulaic. There are things you expect, like, second couple envy and wishing they had their own storyline, and all the things that are tropey. And I felt like this story wasn't about tropes. It wasn't about meeting Boys Love milestones in the storyline. Even the advertising, like, I could clearly see what the ads were now that we knew what to look for, but they were so low key and appropriate for the story that it didn't take away anything. Because like, the ads were the ad for the cell phone, which seemed fairly natural because social media had always been a part of the show. The ad for the Lays, which we only got one long look at the Lays when he was talking to Kim about how come you're not scoring big roles in the play when you're such a great actress. The advertisement for the plushies and the bag, that heart attack bag from the first couple episodes, and the plushies that they had. The ad for the gummy bears that the one friend Mang was eating, that was an ad. Yeah, the ads were super chill, super low key, and very appropriate for this kind of a story.
Yeah, this season definitely continued what the first season did and progressed the genre of boys love. It progressed Thai television. Honestly, controversial yet brave, I'm going to give it an A-. It was a good season. I don't feel disappointed. And there was so much. Sam and I both didn't watch this while it was airing, by the way, because both of us were scared shitless of how it was going to go, because we really, really loved season one. So we both watched it yesterday. And yeah, you know what? I'm very satisfied with how it ended. I think everything that happened was very on par for the course with the characters that we were given in the first season. And I have very few things that I would want changed. So A- for me.
Yeah, and like I said, I was leaning towards a strong 8.5, 9. Like I said, I feel like there were some places where I would have liked to explore it a little bit more. I mentioned that there was one character that I thought was missing. OAO's female love interest in season 1, I wanted to see her pop up the same way that Bass popped up in the show, because she was somebody who really cared about Tae. And Tae made it seem like they would always remain friends, and then she never shows up. And so she was really the only person I was like, I would have liked to have seen them have an interaction, especially when, just like how OAO reached out to Bass because things didn't work out, I would have liked to have seen Tae reach out to her when he was friendless. You know, she could have easily given him the same speech his roommate gave him. So that's the only thing that I was like, that would be something I would absolutely change. But other than that, I thought it was really, really good. And I feel like, again, it's changing the paradigm for boys love. It's definitely moving the standard to another place, and it's leaving less and less excuses for some of the bullshit that we've seen come out of boys love. Like Tonhon Chonliti doesn't have a place in the modern age of boys love when you have shows like this.
Tonhon Chonliti would have been really good in like 2013.
Oh yeah, back when there was nothing, we would be like, oh yay, finally a sliver of acceptance. But in today's boys love, no, baby, we're past that.
Yeah. So I'm so glad it was good.
I am too.
I hope everyone else in the comments liked it just like we did. Sorry for standing.
Sorry, not.
We're a bunch of hard bitches, Sam. So it's okay if we're if we're nice every now and then.
Like, we're velvet wrapped steel. We may seem sweet, but bitches is hard.
Yeah.
So, speaking of boys' loves that push the paradigm,
Gaia Sa Pelikula has unfortunately run into some really big trouble. The screenwriter has been accused of sexual assault from multiple people, but including Paolo, the lead actor of Gaia Sa Pelikula. Now, there's not a lot of, there's just not a lot of like, it's pretty much confirmed that Paolo was sexually, at least like Paolo said that he was sexually assaulted by him based on tweets that he put out, and like very big, like Paolo basically said it without saying who it was. Like it was, you know, not hard to put together. There's not a lot of updates on what's going to happen to the screenwriter. I think he's out of season 2. Paolo said he would still like to do season 2, but of course it might be hard. So they're still trying to figure it out. They might rewrite it, but you just hate to see it. You hate to see it.
You do. And okay, one of the things that I remember thinking when I was watching I Promise You the Moon was Jai and his style of directing.
Yes, very much. I could,
Yes. Because I think a lot of times in the arts, more so than like in other industries, so much of being able to get ahead in the arts is your relationship with the people in power, whether it's the director or the company that's financing the project or the media who reviews the project. Whoever it is that has the power over visibility tends to be in a place where they could really be great or they could really take advantage. And in the show, the taking advantage of was Jai manipulating Tae's feelings in order to get the performance he needed, in order to get him his internship, whatever. And definitely Juan Severo used his power as a screenwriter and a director and this kind of creative force of being like, do you want to be a part of this project? You who have no formal acting training, well, then you're going to need to do something that you're not comfortable with, something that frankly might even be criminal, in order to be able to pursue a spot in this program. And it's so hurtful because we talked, when we did our review of Gaia Sa Pelikula, it was like a therapy session. Like we were really digging in the weeds on this thing. And it's a show that caused a lot of people to have their own really deep conversations about their sexuality, how they outwardly express it, their relationship to family and family expectations, and how that interferes with your expressions of sexuality. All of that was a big part of this. And for people who admired this man and who wanted to be inspired by him to do their own creative projects, or maybe to, you know, express their own life in whatever way they're allowed to then turn out to be this fucking monster ass creep. It not only makes the people who trusted you feel like idiots for believing in you and feel super let down by that, but it also puts a pall on the work. And the work was not just Juan Severo. The work was the work of the actors. It was the work of the people who filmed it, the costume department, the catering, the best boy, the boom mic operator. It was all these people. And by you exerting this influence in such a sinister way, you have now created this dark cloud over what was everybody else's lifeblood.
Yeah, it's very sad that a show so loved is now tainted. It's like when J.K. Rowling decided to out herself as a terrible human being. It's just like, how can you look at Harry Potter the same way? How can you, I don't know, like Guy Caligula, like it's well known that Game Boys was not my favorite show, but Guy Caligula I thought was very heartwarming and meant a lot. And it just sucks to see. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, but I agree with you, Sam. There's just...
Yeah. So the cast got together, all of the cast and crew, except for Juan, got together and took a photograph together. And they, I guess, did a day of kind of like discussion. Like they spent an entire day discussing, where do we go from here? Do we continue this project? How do you all feel about continuing this project? And it looks like it will go forward, but they're going to rearrange some things and try to edit out Mr. Severo's participation so that it doesn't have his influence and they're not beholden to him for anything. But it is just really unfortunate. And it's like Ian, who played the other lead in the show, said, like, I'll be damned if I'm going to let somebody ruin something that I've worked so hard for and that everyone else worked so hard for. You know, they deserve a second chance.
Yeah, he had a really nice Twitter thread about it. And it's very heartwarming to see that the cast and crew seem to be rallying behind Paolo and not dismissing him, because they could very easily just let him go.
Yeah, because he had no acting experience before this show. He was a dancer. So like this was one of those things where like they could have been, well, we'll just get a more experienced actor, we'll move on, we'll do something different. But they believed him, which is what you want to do. You want to believe people. And so I think it's really heartwarming that that's where things went for this.
Yeah. Also, Paolo, I am not watching, but he came out recently on Instagram, which we don't have a lot of boys love actors across the world. Honestly, like even in America, a lot of straight actors play a lot of gay roles. So congrats, Paolo. Happy Pride Month. I hope you have the time to heal and continue on a very successful career.
I agree.
He was talented. He was good he was good in the show.
Like, he was. Like, if you had told me that was his first time acting, I would not have believed you. He was really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of natural talent just there.
Yeah. So it's just, it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy Pride Month, everybody, because this is probably going to be our last. This is going to be our last episode.
Yeah. Which...
also, one of the actors from History, History One Obsession, he recently came out and said he's been married to his Japanese husband. And so congratulations to him.
We stand. Love to
History
see it.
Obsession was an awful series. It was just...
Yeah.
It was very triggering, and it was angst. It was just pure angst.
I still can't believe that they went from Obsession to Trapped and Make Our Days Count. And then we haven't even talked about 4 yet, which I wonder...
That might be it. Is that what's next?
I feel like we have done all of them so far, and we cap very hard for season 3. I feel like we have to talk about 4 and the the choices that were made in this show. Because I haven't finished it, but I've been on the Twitters, and we got some stuff to talk about. We got some stuff to talk about.
Okay. So I guess we'll be talking about that eventually. Look forward to that conversation. But yeah, History 1, Obsession. If you guys don't remember, that was the storyline where the guy got broken up by his boyfriend, and his boyfriend said, I'm marrying this girl. So he runs into the street, gets hit by a car, wakes up in the past, tries not to meet his boyfriend again, and somehow or another, fate keeps throwing them together, and his boyfriend is like super manipulative and damn near rapes him the first time they have sex. It was rape. Yeah. And still he manages to die somehow in the show. And because like the last scene of the show is them throwing his ashes away. I don't know, weird shit happens. Anyway, that's history.
That was so bad. I honestly don't remember much of it.
Yeah, it was bad. But anyway, we're glad to see people happy, and that's really all you can ask for, is just people being allowed to live their lives freely, love freely, and just be left the fuck alone. So good for him for being able to do that, because Taiwan is seeing a lot of pressure from China. A lot of pressure from China, and it's not easy when you become the apple of China's eye, because they don't want you to be different. They want you to be what they want you to be. And Hong Kong, for a long time, China was like, look, we're free thinking, Hong Kong. But then after all of the pro-democracy riots and the legislation which cracked down on anything pro-democracy there, Hong Kong is no longer the jewel of China's eye. But China looks very closely at Taiwan because they're looking to spread their influence there, and they speak.
I don't even think Taiwanese people want. Everyone I know that's from Taiwan really wants to distance themselves from China, because China still views Taiwan as part of China. Taiwanese people are like, F that shit. Taiwan, we're our own country, we're our own place.
Right. And so there's a certain amount of freedom that Taiwan has had with their status that allow them to have gay marriage be legalized, for them to have a boys' love market to begin with. And as China has started to kind of close the door in Hong Kong, they're now looking at Taiwan as being like, this is what a free China looks like. And Taiwan's like, yeah, but behind the scenes, it's not going to be. And it starts culturally. It really does. It starts culturally with, you won't see boys' love anymore. And so it's a brave thing to be involved with something that will be one of the first things to go if China steps up their influence in Taiwan further. Right. Because there are actors that are Hong Kong stars, like legends in Hong Kong, that their legacies are being erased every day because of the morals of the Chinese government being put forefront. So there's an actor named Leslie Chung, who is an actor who played in a couple of Wong Kar-wai films. He played in Happy Together, and he played in another one that I can't think of the name. And he did Farewell My Concubine, which was a huge international movie. It won a Palme d'Or, which is like the big award you can get at the Cannes Film Festival. I think Parasite won that as well. Yeah. And he is a noted gay icon. He was a pop singer before he became an actor, was a huge pop singer, was very androgynous in his pop performances. He would wear long hair, he would wear high heels. He had a romantic partner of 20 years who was a man, and he was out. He was an out bisexual man in Hong Kong, but he passed away. He took his own life, and because he's no longer with us, and because it's now been over a decade since that happened, people don't talk about him. Basically his memory is slowly being erased. And as China is, like I said, imposing the morality of the government onto Hong Kong, people won't remember what an icon he was and how much he changed conversations and how much personal freedom him living his life gave to other people, because people won't know who he is anymore. And so it's just, it takes a lot to not only be involved in these kinds of projects, but to live your life in your own way. So I wish him all the best. I wish, I think his name is Teddy. I wish him all the best with his husband, with his career. And, you know, just like in I Promise You the Moon, it is true that these casting directors and management companies say, get that gay shit off your timeline. Nobody needs to know that you like boys. So it's not just, I want to be out because I want to be out, but it's like, I'm willing to put my career, my livelihood, my reputation on the line when I do something like this. And it's a move that deserves to be applauded no matter who's doing it. Unless you're like a pedophile or something, in which case, you know, fuck you. Yeah. I say that because I'm thinking Kevin Spacey. He is somebody that we don't applaud for coming out of the closet, because fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck him. Poor Anthony Rapp.
Yeah.
But
right. I have Instagrams. Do you have manga?
No, I haven't unpacked yet.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't expect you to. So I'm doing my part with the Instagrams because it's easy to do. I don't have to read nothing in order to do it. So the first Instagram of the day that I have is probably the most important Instagram of the day. It is the Instagram for Q. Because, yeah. So his Instagram is Tannen Rat TW. So I'm going to spell that. It's TANNRATTW. He's got 42,500 followers. And I don't know why his Instagram says dim sum restaurant, but anyway, his name is Ta.
I want to be friends with this man. He seems like a fun time. He has like an anime profile picture, and he just has photos of, like, the sky. Like, his Instagram is like, it's the sky, and that is it.
Yeah, so check him out. He hasn't gone super commercial like a lot of Boys Love actors' Instagrams do, so he's one to check out if you're interested. Next, we have the Instagram for Jai, because even though Jai was a snakerson in the show, he's also a good-looking dude, and so that's why I wanted to go ahead and Instagram.
Sam's like, that man, if I see him, he's in a casket, but also, hey.
So his Instagram is Oabnithi, which is his first name. So it's AOBNITHI, Oabnithi. And he's got 1.5 million followers. This man is very, very popular. And I think I know why, because he was a star in a Thai boys love that was really popular quite a long time ago called Hormones.
Oh, okay. I know that.
Also, he was in a movie with Gunn, our friend Gunn from Off Gun. Yeah, he was in the movie The Blue Hour.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say Red Wine on the Dark Knight, and I was like, not again. Not that movie.
But Blue Hour is a weird ass movie. I don't think we've ever reviewed it, but it's this movie where Gunn goes to this like abandoned pool to hook up with like a Tinder date, and they end up fucking at this abandoned like gymnasium and swimming in this really gross abandoned pool. And then at the end of the show, like Gunn's entire family gets murdered, and it looks like Gunn did it.
Girl. Anyways.
It is bizarre. So anyway, he was the lead in that too. But I wanted to mention that because like we've never reviewed that movie. One day we might, but I didn't get it. Like I watched that whole movie and I'm like, I don't know what this is.
Oh man, maybe I'll watch it and it'll be a contender, because maybe it could be, or we just talk about it and get confused.
It's so, I'm sorry, that was a total spoiler. I'm sorry if you were planning on watching. Well, not really, because I did say his whole family got murdered, but I didn't tell you who the murderer was. So, yeah, that is an interesting moment. But anyway, yeah, strange movie, The Blue Hour. Next, we have Hoon, because I don't think I gave you guys Hoon's Instagram when we did the thing last time. So just in case I didn't give you Hoon's Instagram, it's NATKITCHARIT. So it's not Keecherit.
He's got a very interesting account.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but he's got 196,000 followers, so he's doing okay. But yeah, that's his account. And I think Hoon is a doll, which is the reason why I wanted to include him on the Instagrams of the day. But yeah, Hoon has been in some other stuff. I don't think he's been in any other boys love stuff, but he's been in like other acting stuff. So that's the reason why he's got kind of the follower base that he has now. And I have no doubt that after that last episode of I Promise You the Moon, Q's Instagram is going to skyrocket. He's going to see a huge increase in followers. Also, one of the actors from Lovesick, maybe? Okay. Of course, I had to get in the weeds with Q's Instagram, but there's a picture of him and two other guys. And one of the guys, I'm like, I recognize him. He's been in a boys love, but it's been a really old boys love. So I'm not sure if it's Lovesick or if it's the other one that Ohm was on, which I can't remember the name now. But that guy was in a boys love from years and years and years ago, and he doesn't do boys love anymore, but he's an actor. And I'm like, this is interesting, because I'm always interested in like how actors maintain personal friendships with people and like what the friendship circles are between certain actors.
Oh, it's interesting to see who people follow, for sure. I was just looking at Bilkin's Instagram, and I don't think, oh, just kidding. I didn't see the guy who played O was following him for a second, and I was like, ooh, what's the tea? I heard Mew Golf unfollowed each other. Now we got this going. But no.
Okay. So I checked the other day, and Mew and Golf are still following each other, as far as I could see. But
okay, so Twitter be lying.
But BKPP is the ship name for Bilkin and PP Crit. And I feel a certain way about them, because like the people who are all about Mew Golf are like, they're a real couple. They absolutely are fucking each other in real life. This is totally a thing. And I don't see it. I see them as two actors who are just acting, because if they really were together, their chemistry in season 2 would have been something totally different. But BK and PP Crit have a very unique situation in that they did know each other before they were ever casted on anything. And yeah, they went to tutoring school together. And right. And so the story that a lot of people like to tell is that PP Crit wanted to go into acting, and Bilkin followed him into acting. And that's how they got into showbiz.
Interesting.
And so when you hear a narrative like that, you're like, what kind of relationship would I have with somebody that would cause me to decide to go into acting with them? And also, this is their third series together. They did My Ambulance, they did I Told Sunset About You, and now they're doing I Promise You the Moon. So in a lot of ways, their careers are super entwined.
Yeah, and they're doing like a short film or something together too, right?
Well, they did a short film called Last Twilight in Phuket, which is a side story of the main story. It's the night before OAO leaves for Bangkok to go to school. And it's really short.
No, I'm not talking about that. I think I read that they were like filming something right now.
It could be. There could be an epilogue that we're about to get. I don't know. But it makes me very worried, because when the rumors came out that Mew and Golf were no longer friendly terms and they don't follow each other and everything else, a lot of people wanted to bash one or the other. They wanted to place the blame on somebody else for the fact that they are no longer personally connected. And a lot of it comes from assumptions about what kind of romantic status Mew and Golf have in relationship to one another. And I really feel like we need to be careful about that with Bilkin and PP Crit. Because when the director in the movie, or in the director in the show for I Promise You the Moon was doing the audition for OAO, and he's like, you come across as feminine. I remember thinking to myself, yeah, I wonder if PP Crit has heard this a lot while he's been trying to pursue an acting career. Because when you watch interviews of the two together, Bilkin comes across as very extroverted, very talkative, very like, I'm an actor and I do acting things. Whereas PP Crit comes across as somebody that's very introverted, somebody who kind of spends a lot of time in his head and isn't always comfortable. Even in the interviews that they did for the documentary for I Promise You the Moon, he like has a plushie in his lap and he's like fidgeting, and you could tell like he's very uncomfortable, even though he's talking about a show that he's filming that he has a huge role in. And I wonder if they were to establish their careers outside of each other, if they do projects away from each other, will the public accept them in that way? And how much resentment will it breed for the both of them if the only time the public is interested in them is when they're together?
Right. I hope that both of them can have good careers outside of just being in the same shows together. But you want that for all of them.
Right.
Like, I want you and Golf too.
Me too. I want to see Golf and other stuff without Mew. I want to see Mew do different things. Yeah, Golf is very talented. For Darn Type being his first series, basically, or at least his first lead, it was a huge look, and he did really, really well.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of just the acting, we forgot to mention this in the review. I know that I don't know how, but I want to give them Emmys. Bilkin and PP Crit, both for Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. I would like to personally submit them to the Emmys this year because holy shit, they deserve every award. Can we give Oscars to a TV show? We'll find out. But they were like chef's kiss beyond amazing in both seasons.
They were real people to me.
Like they're in the show, they were talking about like, oh, I wish I could be, Tay was like, oh, I want to win an Oscar. And I'm like, baby, in real life, that could happen for you. I see it for the both of them, for sure.
Absolutely. Like, oh my gosh, I'll say it again because I said it the last review. PP Crit is my child. I'll hear nothing bad about him. Come through me first. He just gives such a vulnerable, honest portrayal of somebody who is just really trying, but they're almost too good for the kind of world we live in.
Yeah.
And those people get hurt so badly because people see their earnestness and they see their honesty and they see that vulnerability. And it's like they make it their personal mission to break those kinds of folks. And it is just, when the storyline was that OAO puts too much of himself into his acting, which makes him a bad actor, I was thinking to myself, how much of PP Crit is he putting into his character of OAO? Because it felt like a super honest portrayal to the point that I'm like, it feels almost autobiographical. And if that is the case, like, baby, you can't be giving these people so much of yourself. They don't deserve it. They really don't, because they don't know how to act. But yeah, I mean, these were real people for me. The anger I felt, so many times I had to stop the show to scream. My neighbors probably think that I'm in here being attacked because I had to scream multiple times.
When Tay kissed Jai, I knew it was coming, but I literally screamed. I don't have that reaction ever to piece of media. I never scream. Unless it's a horror movie. But like, just like something so dramatic happening and like you knew it was coming, but they're real people. You want to, it was such a fucking mistake.
They're real people. That even like a very small scene. It is a small scene, but I want to bring it up. the scene where the friend group finds out that Mang and Plug are dating each other.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, like, I could totally see this happening in real life, where like two of your friends are dating and they don't want to tell everybody because they like knew that you guys were going to react weird, and they wanted to be on solid footing before they could endure your personal criticism. And then the conversation stops, so everyone has to like slowly start making their apologies. Like, these are real people to me.
Yeah, that whole scene was very natural. Oh, you normally liked this type of man. Why aren't you going to his profile? And it's like, well,
Yeah,
it was so good. Yeah,
like you're
I want
struggling
to see
to
the
be
story.
honest, that you can't really be honest. Like,
Okay, well, we would talk for another hour about the minutia of the show. So I think we should wrap it up. But next week we plan to do The Handmaiden. We said we were going to do it. We're going to do it. We already watched it, and
woo!
I'll just say it right now. If anyone made it to the end, Handmaiden is
graphic.
A lot. It's a lot. Trigger warning for most things. Yeah, trigger warning for everything. And also graphic depictions of sex, like more graphic than I felt really comfortable with. I felt like I needed an adult, but you know,
this was more graphic than Mood Indigo.
I haven't seen Mood Indigo. No,
yes, you have.
Just kidding. Well, I was thinking, I thought of blue as the warmest color for some reason. I was like, lesbian film?
No.
Mood Indigo? Oh, that shit was graphic. Yeah, no, this was worse.
Yeah.
I don't know how or why, but we'll talk about it next week. Tune in. All right, bye everyone.